Chapter 3.1, Part 2. We're in the ancient Mediterranean worlds, and actually we're in the prehistory. So I'm going to back up here this Cycladic figure. I just want to show you location on our map. So the Cycladic islands are up here, and then we're going to get into Crete, which is also Minoa. And then you can see Athens is here on the mainland. It's hard to see that with this diagram, but Athens is on the mainland where the Acropolis is. Corinth is over here. You hear of Carthage, Rome, and Carthage. So just give you some idea. And then some of our other locations over here. Catalhayuk is also what we're going to look at. So our Cycladic figure is a tall, abstracted, narrow, very elongated piece. Now there's not a lot of decoration on here. The carving is pretty simplistic, but there was a lot of paint on these that they found. This is probably, I don't know of any that are fully painted anymore. When you paint on marble, which is what these were carved out, it doesn't stay very well. There aren't very many things that attach to marble very well because marble is such a smooth surface, and it shrinks and expands with the heat or cold or whatever in a different rate than the paint does, so eventually the paint falls off. And that's true of a lot of stone. So here, there might be some remnants of black and maybe a little bit of remnants of orange, but that also could be some environmental factors. I don't know for sure. They don't know exactly what these were for, but they were found near grave sites. It could be an embodiment of the soul. It could be a fertility figure. But most of the fertility figures that we've seen so far have the bulging belly with pregnancy and the enlarged breasts. Most of them are female, but again, we don't know much about the origins of these. No written language at that time. Okay, so we're at 2500 BC. The Egyptians are active at this time, so we're dealing with 4,000, 5,000 years ago. Then we're going to skip over to Turkey, the Catalhayuk location I showed you on the map. And you can look back at that map. It's in the regular PowerPoint too if you want to do it that way, and the book. So this is showing the dwellings together quite closely. Now this is a watercolor, an artist's rendition of an actual wall painting. So the wall painting probably had tiny remnants of color. Maybe it was kind of hard to see at this point or very damaged. So an artist who was out on in the location painted this to show you more of the detail. So we have houses close together, multiple houses, so we're seeing a community, and then we're seeing a volcano erupt here and some perhaps steam coming out and things kind of exploding off, some of these rocks coming forward. This actual volcano is 8 miles away, probably able to see it from the village, but we're not sure if it's recording an event or it's just including it in there. Probably it's an eruption, but they haven't found out scientifically anyway exactly when that was. So we're dealing with prehistory here, 6150 BC, so this is 8,000 years ago. No written language. So it recreates the design of the town, so we see a lot of these things, this snapshot in time. Okay, now we're on the island of Crete in southern Greece, and this is part of Greece today. It has on and off gone to other countries, but this is closer to Egypt. This is 1700 to 1400 BC, so we're dealing with a 3,000, plus year old piece. And then in 1900, they decided to reconstruct part of the palace. So there's different rules of reconstructing or preservation in different cultures and in different people that come. Like sometimes it's an English expedition or French or, American. There's a lot of people that view restoration differently. So right now, I think I mentioned the Colosseum in Rome. They put the wood floor in. So at least part of it, you can see what it actually looked like 2,000 years ago. And they do this a bit for tourists so they can imagine exactly what it looked like. So this coloration here that you see is not from, 2,000, 3,000 years ago. Sorry, 3,000 plus years ago. They're reconstructing it so you see what it looks like. Probably it looks something like this, So, they know there's more appeal to tourists and a good way to raise money and awareness to have people come out and look at this. So the more visible the details are, the better. But you can see some things here, and this is the King Minos Palace, and it was a maze-like complex. It's believed that the myth of the Minotaur, where it's a bull's head and a man's body, that's kind of a long story. You're gonna have to look up that myth of the Minotaur. But anyway, that the Minotaur was in the maze, which was a labyrinth, running around down there in the basement. Okay, so it's a site of governmental, ceremonial, and festive functions, and this is our era of the Minoan civilization. So it kind of goes Cycladic, Minoan, and then we're going to get in the Mycenaean, and then ancient Greece. So there's people there, in other words, and in the Mediterranean, it's a really good place to live. It doesn't get too cold, doesn't get too hot. Lots of food, lots of things you can get out of the sea. You can travel across the sea if something's going wrong in your area, such as a volcano or something like that. Water shortage. So it's been a really fruitful place to live. So part of that Minoan myth of the Minotaur is to do with these bulls that are depicted at this palace, okay? So this is the same era as we're looking at here. So one of the original paintings was preserved and perhaps touched up. We don't know exactly, but there's different levels of color here. This is an early fresco. So this is a 3,400-year-old fresco. And we see a lot of coloration and some games and an idealization of a body type. Very strong upper chest, narrow waist, long legs, and some acrobats playing with the bull. So it's a popular subject. So again, look up the Minotaur. They're an athletic culture. Now that goes into classical Greek. Sorry, the Olympians. The Olympics are invented a little bit after this, and so that starts to happen. Gender is indicated through skin color. We do see that even in Baroque paintings much later, almost 3,000 years later, we see Baroque paintings with a lighter female body and a darker male body. That means the women were kept inside. And also for a variety of reasons. And you get in the Middle East as well, the body is covered up more, and the man is out there in the elements. Okay, Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers Tigris and Euphrates.